Hello, everyone. This is 2024 election updates. It is May 1st, 2024. And today, in this video, we're going to talk about who is Trump going to pick for his VP. So, on the on this news article by Axios, here are the potential candidates: Doug Burgum, a governor; Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina; Elise Stefanik; Kari Lake; Ben Carson; J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio; Vivek Ramaswamy, former presidential campaign candidate; Governor Kristi Noem from South Dakota; Governor Greg Abbott from Texas; Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders from Arkansas; Republican Brian Donalds from Florida; Republican Katie Britt from Alabama; and then Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida; and then Tulsi Gabbard, who once was a Democrat and now is an independent or a Republican. So, we're going to break down these candidates. Okay. Governor Doug Burgum, North Dakota governor. What does he add to the presidency? North Dakota is a safe Democratic or Republican state. Donald Trump won it by almost 32 points last presidency. Okay. So no matter what, if he picks him, he's going to probably do better in the state, but that's about it. That's all he adds to his thing. Tim Scott, a governor or a senator from South Carolina who easily won his district last time. What is he going to add? He is going to add a very important side of the base. Since he is an African American voters disproportionately vote Democrat most of the time. So, adding someone like a Tim Scott, a Republican African American senator who has good quality values, can add great impacts to his campaign. Donald Trump would be very smart to pick Tim Scott. Elise Stefanik. She is very MAGA, extreme, core Donald Trump base. Her and Kari Lake are very similar. Besides, Kari Lake lost her election this last term, but Elise Stefanik is definitely, I don't think, would benefit Donald Trump that much. Just very similar base, very not that much that she would help him. Kari Lake, Arizona. Kari Lake lost Arizona in the last election for 2022. Kari Lake's race, she lost Arizona by a good amount. She was ran for senator and now, or ran for governor, lost to Katie Hobbs, who didn't really campaign that much. So it was kind of an embarrassing loss for her. But other than that, I think she would also not add that much to the ticket because she is also extreme right. Ben Carson. Ben Carson, you might remember from his 2016 race against Donald Trump. He was also one of his cabinet members in his 2020 when he won the 2020 election. Again, same thing. He's an African American. He might turn out more African American voters to Republicans. Okay, now we're going to go to Senator J.D. Vance. Senator J.D. Vance is from Ohio. If we look at Ohio in 2020, Joe Biden lost it by 8 points. J.D. Vance just won his race by less than that in the Senate. So why would we pick someone from a state that we're already doing good in? That's a very interesting discussion to have because really it's not really needed because he's already going to do good in Ohio. And J.D. Vance is also very far right, MAGA, fits Donald Trump crowd. So, I mean, it would make sense for him to be very supportive of. But next is Vivek Ramaswamy, who was in the Republican primary race this year in 2020, but dropped out right after the first primary in Iowa or New Hampshire, or maybe, yeah, it was Iowa. He dropped out right after Iowa. So really, he wasn't in the campaign for that long. So basically, he's also a very rich businessman, just like Donald Trump. He's young. He's young. He wasn't used to be a Democrat when he was growing up. Then became a millionaire and now is a Republican, and he tried to run for president, but obviously he and Donald Trump had the same base, so he didn't really get much support. Governor Kristi Noem. Okay, so she's the governor from South Dakota. She's very popular among South Dakota as the governor, but there was a news article recently in her book where she had to kill her dog, or she chose to kill her dog because he was worthless. So I don't know if that kind of takes her out of the VP pick because of that. It definitely can, because there are probably a lot of animal groups. A lot of people love dogs. A lot of people love animals. A lot of people in animal groups will despise and not vote for her because she's on the ticket and wrote a book about killing her dog. So next is Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott from the state of Texas. He would be a good vice presidential pick just because he is on the border. Trump's main thing is running about the border, fixing the border crisis. But Greg Abbott knows exactly how the border is messing up. But again, in Texas, like there can only be so much done by the state government. But same thing, Texas was a easily won state by 6 points in the last election. Like, does he need a representative from Texas? Probably not. Same thing with South Dakota. I forgot to pull that up. South Dakota, he won by 30 points also, or 26. Close enough. But it's just basically just not nothing that would impact, and it's just like Republican Party. As Kevin McCarthy said in the interview, the Republican Party is like the most restrictive country club in the world. Basically, it is all one color. It is all one unit about ideas. Very restrictive. So that's why I think a woman or a African American man would definitely benefit Donald Trump the most. So next, we're going to talk about Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's from Arkansas. Again, Arkansas is a very safe. Trump won it by 28 points in last election. So is that a big influence on the race? Probably not. I will say Byron Donalds. He was in the running for the Speaker of the House once Kevin McCarthy got ousted by the vote. And he's a Republican from Florida. And I will say Florida is a safe, it will be likely Trump state, and it has been trending further to the right. But he's an African American man who will bring more voters to the party, in my eyes. So that's why I could see him being picked. Senator Katie Britt. Okay. Katie Britt was maybe in the running from a time, but after the horrible State of the Union speech, or after the second State of the Union speech, Joe Biden did a fine job in the State of the Union, but then the Republican response, Katie Britt was the senator in charge of that, and let's just say did not do a good job. She was mocked on social media for days after. Just not a good rebuttal from their side. Also, she's from Alabama. Alabama, same thing. 26 points. Like, not even a close state. Governor Ron DeSantis. Okay, Ron DeSantis is a very popular Florida governor. He won his race this time by a given margin of over 10 points. Very easy win. So I think he would be a good choice just because he is so popular in the state of Florida. But also, you need to be more popular than just the state of Florida. I mean, if he was popular in Florida, it would probably affect Georgia, but like nothing else around Georgia, maybe North Carolina. But Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, I mean, they might not be affected by his governorship because they don't have to deal with him that much as governors not in that area. So I'd say Tulsi Gabbard's probably the most interesting one just because she was a Democrat in the 2020 election. She was running for the party's seat, um, for on the ticket, and she was probably one of the last people to drop out. So it is interesting to see her on here because since she is like a leaning independent slash Republican, I mean, be interesting to see if her being on the ballot would affect Donald Trump, but I really don't think it would that much, just because she's not really that known, and especially since she's not really that known on independence, like she's not that liked. So my top three choices would be probably Senator Tim Scott at one. Number two would probably be Byron Donalds at number two. And then for the third one, I would have said Kristi Noem, but since that story came out about the dogs and stuff like that, um, I'd probably go with Ron DeSantis just because he's a popular governor. Tim Scott's very popular, and then Byron Donalds almost became the Speaker of the House, so he is also very popular. Um, Other than that, I think Doug Burgum, I don't think has a shot. Elise Stefanik, just because she's very MAGA and is very far right, just like Carrie Lake. They might have a shot just because of those things. Ben Carson, I don't think will be one. JD Vance, same thing, just young, inexperienced, very far right. Same with Vivek, no political experience at all. Just wants to destroy the establishment, which the establishment has to be bad enough to be destroyed, but it can't be completely shattered. Um, in my eyes, the establishment has to stay at least permanent and around, because if you destroy the establishment, there's nothing left of the United States. So and then maybe Kristi Noem again. I would put her up there. Greg Abbott, same thing. I don't think Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a viable candidate. Same with Katie Britt or Tulsi Gabbard. I just don't think they add anything besides being a woman to Donald Trump's campaign. And Donald Trump definitely struggles among suburban white women. So I mean, it is possible, but like they're around in different states, so I just don't think they're going to be as impactful as what we could possibly see. Um, Other than that, I think the latest polling has, in a five-way race, has Donald Trump leading as of today, um, just because Joe Biden is so disapproved of. It's not even funny right now at this moment. Just terrible spreads across the board. Just negatives, negatives, negatives. Like right now, he's negative 16. Like the start of his presidency, he was approved of by 55%. Same thing, approved of by 50%. He lasted from March or February of 2021 to August of 2021. And that's when he became disapproved of. He lasted less than 8 months, 6 months before he got disapproved of. I think it just shows that there is a lot of disapproval for him, but he's nowhere near where he was at the bottom. He was at 37% in 2022, July of 22. Just think, that's 5 months off from midterm. And somehow, in the midterm, Democrats didn't do bad. Democrats were actually surprised how well they did in the midterm. So, I mean, disapproval rating's still there. But even right now, he's at 16. He's at what? 40? Right about that 40 line, and he's disapproved of at 55 or more, 57. So, I mean, he is. What I would like to see, though, is possibly. So, since we talked about Trump's VP, what about Biden's VP? Is Biden losing out on a VP choice? Oh, wait, we forgot to talk about Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley on the Republican side. Let's finish up on the Republican side first. Nikki Haley refused to endorse Trump after dropping out and told Wall Street Journal nominating him would be suicide for our country. I don't think Nikki Haley would ever support him or is going to support him and is not going to be his VP. 1000%. Even though, because she is so approved of by the middle. Like the old Republican Party, she is approved of and liked by so many people. Like if Haley was thrown in there as a VP for Donald Trump, he would easily win the White House. Like it wouldn't even be close. But since she's not even an option, all of those independent people, all those independents are not going to want to stay. Let me look at the presidential betting odds, even today. Like, if Donald Trump wouldn't have picked Nikki Haley already, he would be up in all these betting odds by more than or he wouldn't be down in these presidential betting odds. He'd be up by so much. Wouldn't even be close. But since he is not going to, and since Nikki Haley wouldn't accept it, he's going to fall behind. Now, looking at this though, this is the betting odds by all the polls. People take betting odds, BetOnline, Betfair, Betsson, Bovada, Polymarket, Predicted. These are averages on what people are putting money on. Let me tell you, Donald Trump was leading for a long time. Like, since October, Donald Trump took over the lead of becoming the next president of the United States. Gavin Newsom was almost at 10% at this time. Michelle Obama was even at 5%. Ron DeSantis was at 5%. But Robert Kennedy's at almost 5%, and then Nikki Haley was almost at 5% too. Let me tell you, before that, Donald Trump, in the months after November, December, January, February, March, he was leading. At one point, Joe Biden was at 27%, and Donald Trump was at 44%. And Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama were at 10 and 8. That's telling you something that Joe Biden should not be close in this betting market. But now, since they both won their primaries already, Donald Trump went from 45 down to 42.3. And Joe Biden went from 27 to 42.3. Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom have dropped all the way from 10 to 3, both of them. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the next with 4.8 or 3.8. What this is saying is people are still betting money on Biden winning, even though all the polls look terrible for Biden. Literally, he should not be in the race. He should not be close. But for some way, Biden is doing okay. Like 1.3 down, right? He should be way worse. 0.7 down. Should be way worse. In the betting odds, people still have Biden winning the presidency, which is astonishing to think. Not only, February, he was at 25. 25 was his low point. And Donald Trump was at 44. 25% chance of winning the presidency is almost doubled to 43. That is astonishing from what we're seeing on polls. So, either it's going to be like 2022 again, where the polls overestimate Republican support, underestimate Democrat support, and struggle, or the polls will be right and Donald Trump will win by a couple more points in the overall vote total, but might lose the Electoral College. It is possible. I will say, though, if I was Joe Biden, I would be looking for a different vice president. Kamala Harris is not liked by, anyone. She just isn't. She's a Democrat from She's a Democrat from California. What is she helping you with? California is a safe state. Not even a problem. Like, Democrats have a safe control over California. You need to get someone else in there that will help you in swing states. Possibly Texas. O'Rourke, though he lost 2 Senate and governor races, he's popular in Texas. Georgia, you need someone in that region that is a strong candidate for you. North Carolina, someone. Old governor, very popular governor from North Carolina, is there. Arizona, you can get someone from Arizona that is very important to win. Also, same thing with Michigan. Pennsylvania, you have a popular governor there who won the state by 10 points or more in the last election. Use her. Use her to your advantage. Same thing with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a popular governor that has won by his election by more than 10 points. It is very important for Joe Biden to use these places like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada even. He needs to use popular people there when making his pick for VP. I think he gets away from Kamala Harris would be best for his campaign. What it would even be crazier is if he went with Nikki Haley. If he went with Nikki Haley, chose an independent chose a moderate from Nikki Haley, the problem is if the Senate is 50-50, that is very hard to see Nikki Haley voting on the Democratic side. That is also one problem that I see. But what really is in question right now is who's Trump going to pick for VP. Again, I laid out my top 3, what I think it will happen, what I don't think will happen, who should get it, who is most impactful for him. But I also think Joe Biden should move on from Kamala Harris. But I don't think that will happen. I do see Donald Trump, as of right now, currently, again, from my last video, I still see Donald Trump winning the election as of today. And polls reflect that, but with a 0.7 margin. But there also is the option of Robert Kennedy Jr. in there to throw in a wrench in everyone's thing. So, with that, I'm going to leave you at that. Let me know who you think Trump will choose in the comments. Also, if you think there's another option that's not listed, who you think should be representative on here, who's not, let me know, and I'll definitely comment back at you if that is something you would like. If you leave a comment about who you think it will be, I will definitely reply to you. Other than that, hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll be posting this later tonight. Yeah, have a good one.